Friends, in this video we'll discuss how to understand and apply classification. Now first, what is the use of classification or what is the need of classification in GST? Now there is a clear arbitrage opportunity due to classification of 6% to 10%. That is, if you classify a goods at 12% and if the department classifies it at 18%, there is a 6% arbitrage. From 5 to 12, there is a 7% arbitrage, and 18 to 28, there is a 10% arbitrage. Hence, this arbitrage opportunity creates litigation. So first, what is the need of classification? First, it is to determine the taxability. For example, in the last year October, you must have heard on a lot of advertisement on exemption of napkins. Now mind that the exemption was only and only on sanitary napkins and not on baby diapers. So one has to see the specific codes which are exempt under the schedule. The notification number is 1/2017 Central Tax. Second and most important sometimes is to classify whether a particular item is goods or service. I'll give you a very interesting and beautiful case which I have handled. Now, in case of solar power generating systems, what the contract is that the supplier has to install a solar power system on the rooftop, right? The contract is, say, 1 crore rupees is paid for installing the entire system. Now what is this solar power system? It is made up of 70% of it is made up of the machine, the solar power generating machine itself. 15% are the accessories, nuts, bolts, etc. Balance 15% is for the civil work to install that system. The department has classified this as works contract, chargeable at 18% GST. It says the entire process of installation of solar power generating system is works contract, chargeable at 18% GST. Now let us look at what to see. First of all, what is the principal element of the entire supply? Now, the principal element has to be the element which consists of 70% of the supply, which is the solar power machine itself. Next, what is the intention of the party? So when somebody gives a contract to install a solar power generating system on the rooftop of a building, the intention is not to have that building or rooftop being dug out and civil work done. The intention is to have a machine which can capture solar power. And last and not the least, works contract is only and only under section 2119 related to immovable property. Now what is an immovable property? A property which can be dismantled without being destroyed is a movable property, and a property which cannot be dismantled without being destroyed is an immovable property. Now the revenue's contention is that generally 95% of the cases this solar power generating system is not dismantled. Now that does not matter. What matters is, can it be dismantled and without being destroyed? The answer is yes. If yes, then it is a solar power generating system classifiable under goods and under section chapter 84 of the Tariff Act. Next to see is whether an exemption notification specifically applies to certain goods. For example, unprocessed water, while it is goods, yet it is exempt. But processed water or packed water is liable to 5% GST. So now a circular had come recently which said that the notification should be followed. It also said that water made safe for household, that is exempt. There is a contradictory in the circular. However, what should be followed is the strict interpretation of processed water, irrespective of whether it is for making it safe for drinking or making it better for drinking. Hence, in this case, I would say the tax would be chargeable. And last is standardization of the processes and avoiding differentiation so that no two suppliers charge different taxes on the same commodity. Friends, most important thing in case of a classification dispute, and there are 11,000 disputes which are pending with the Supreme Court, mind that. The most important element is, in case of Vicco Laboratories, it was held by the Supreme Court that in case there is a dispute in classification, then it is upon the revenue to prove the classification as per understanding in the common trade parlance. So not only has the revenue to prove its point of view, it also has to see that whether its point of view is accepted in the common trade parlance or not. It was in the case of Vicco Laboratories. Now we understand how to read the HSN code. The first 4 digits is the heading, the next 2 are the subheadings, and the last 2 are the tariff items. So 8-digit HSN code is there. Now there are chapter headings and section headings also. These are just for reference purpose. For example, a chapter heading may be plant and machinery, but in case a hand pump falls under that tariff item in that chapter, then the hand pump will be in that chapter itself. Friends, the section notes and the chapter notes takes precedence even over the tariff items. It has been held in the case of Holland tractors that the chapter and the section notes have a very important part to play until and unless a particular item has been clearly exempt under an exemption notification. Now let us go to the rules of interpretation. First rule is classification is to be determined as per headings. That is, first you need to see the headings, the first 4 digits, and you decide on the classification primarily. To also understand is the HSN classification, it starts from the natural product, then it goes to the raw material, then to the semi-finished goods, and then to the finished goods. So one also has to keep in mind as to what is the goods which is the requirement, and he has to see in the respective chapters. Second, rule 2A is classification of incomplete or unassembled items. In case of incomplete or unassembled items, they take the character of the finished item or the complete items. In case the essential character of that incomplete item is the same as that of the complete item. Rule 2B, classification of mixture of combinations. We understand this from section 8 of CGST Act on mixed supplies or composition supplies. Now, in case a particular product is a composition which is naturally bundled, then the composition will be classified as the principal product. Rule 3A is prefer the specific entry over the general entry. For example, in case of sink, the right entry is that of sanitary ware, which takes precedence over household articles of iron and steel. Rule 3B is essential character test for mixture or composite goods. That is, in case two goods are not naturally bundled, then both have to be separately classified, because the mixture does not have the essential character of the main product. Rule 3C is latter the better maxim. A product which appears later in the classification is considered to be better than the previous entry. Rule 4 is akin goods. If you do not find a specific goods, you have to use the goods which are closest to such goods. Rule 5 is classification of packing materials. That is, in case the packing material is specific to a particular product, it partakes the nature of that product. In case the packing material is not specific to that material and it is a general packing material, then that packing material is different. It is differently classified. For example, in case of a packing material for Colgate, it partakes the nature of Colgate itself, the paste itself. But if there is a gift packing material, then that can be used for any gift. Then such packing material would be separately classified. Last, rule 6 is goods are comparable at the same level only. Now, what is same level? In the rate schedule, you would see the use of dashes. 1 dash is for a group of goods, 2 dashes are for subcategory of goods, 3 or 4 dashes are for a particular tariff item. So, only those with 2 dashes or 1 dashes, they are comparable and not different items. Friends, classification of services is totally dependent upon one's own general understanding. Now, do not use the classification rules of goods in services, because the classification of goods rules, interpretation rules, they are not applicable to services. A press release was there by the government that the UNCPC should be used for classification of services. But the UNCPC itself says that the classification rules in the UNCPC have to be used only for statistical purpose and not for legal purposes. Therefore, one has to use its judgment on classification of services under Notification 12, 2017. Happy classification. Thanks a lot.